what did I say, 20%, right?
Yes.
So I would probably rectify that. Okay. So first thing we need to do though is questions on 4-1. So it is 11-4 today. Yo. Number 10. Alrighty. What was what? What was the question? Well, I know number 10, but then I thought somebody said what was.
Oh, we'll ask it after.
Asked what? Oh. Okay, and this is 4. All right, so I've got number 10 says 16x squared minus 1 equals 0, right? Well, what is 16 really? So I've got 4 squared x squared minus 1. Well, what is 4 squared x squared? Well, but what is just this, though?
4x to the second.
Yeah, parentheses, right? We did 4x squared minus 1, and 1 can be whatever I needed. In this case, I need it to be squared, right? Dixon, do you remember what this was called?
Oh, it's, shoot, wait, no.
There's a reason I called on you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Sum in squares or something?
It was the
Sum
difference.
in squares.
Difference of squares. We taught this last chapter. And remember how to do this? Yeah, Asher.
Then you'll get parentheses 4x plus 1 and 4x subtract 1, negative 1.
Right, and they all equal 0. And then I'm just going to take each one of these. And I'm going to go 4x plus 1 equals 0. And 4x minus 1 equals 0. Then what do I do? What am I going to do here? Yeah, minus 1, 4x equals a negative 1. Then I divide by 4, and I get x equals negative 1/4. Here I'm going to add 1 and add 1. I get 4x equals 1. Divide by 4, x equals 1/4. And I'm going to go x equals negative 1/4 and 1/4. Right?
Yep.
But didn't I mean, you found this in your notes, right, Dixon? Okay. Yo.
13.
13 says negative 8x squared equals 32, right? Well, I'm just going to divide by negative 8. That's going to give me x squared equals what?
4.
Equals negative 4, right? Well, it's x squared. I want just x. So I'm going to, I just heard it. Who said that? Yeah, I'm going to square root it, right? Rules of algebra state if I square root one side, I have to square root the other, right? Well, what's the square root of x squared? X. Now, something you're going to learn, we'll actually cover today, is anytime I square root in a problem to get my answer, you get a special case, and it's plus or minus. Because I don't know. Because a plus 4 squared is 16, but a minus 4 squared is also 16, isn't it? So you don't know which one it is. So you always get plus or minus. So I get plus or minus the square root of negative 4. But that's really what? 2i.
That's the answer.
It's plus or minus 2i.
What the? Wait, I still don't get that. How'd you get the plus or minus?
Anytime, listen to this, this is important. Anytime you square root in a problem, to get rid of that squared, you always end up with plus or minus. Always. And that's how I get my two answers, right? And I knew I had to have 2 zeros because this is squared, right? Barker.
What if I minus 32 and then took out the GCF and then I did all that to not divide? I didn't divide by 8.
So I got negative 8x squared minus 32 equals 0, right?
And I took out a negative.
So you took out a negative 8, right? That gives you x squared plus 4 equals 0.
Yeah.
Where did you go from there?
I did x plus 2 and did x plus 2 in parentheses. That's what I got.
I did
Okay.
X
Okay.
squared plus 2
Okay,
squared.
so
I just took out an 8.
I did
and
X
left the
squared plus
negative
2
in.
squared right there.
okay, but watch. So if I get to here, what is wrong with that?
It gives you a 4x. It's
Yeah, this is x squared plus 4x plus 4. Are they the same thing?
No.
No. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it has to be a minus sign to do the difference.
It has. That's why it's difference of squares and not sum of squares.
Okay.
There's no other way to solve that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could go to here, but even here, this tells me that times that is 0, right? Well, that means can negative 8 equal 0? No. Okay, but x squared plus 4 can equal 0, right? Well, how would I solve that? Minus 4, I get x squared equals negative 4. Huh. That looks familiar, right?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Different way of doing the same thing. Smedley.
I'm confused, like, how you just explained the two ways. Like, I'm confused how they're different.
They're not different. They're the same thing. They just were solved differently.
Oh.
I mean, ultimately, you're going to get the same answer. It's like let's say I want to go to Country Corner. Smedley, how many different ways can I get from here to Country Corner?
As many ways as the road is like.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Did I still end up at Country Corner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are some of those ways maybe shorter? Yeah, so it just depends on how you want to solve it.
Okay.
You know, me, I'm going to go down to the football field, or go down to just before Maverick, go up past the park, and then I'm going to go over, right? I would never go down to, you know, whatever that Plain City Elementary road's on, because then I got to drive by the elementary and slow down. Nobody wants to do that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, some of us might go all the way to 2000 and then go up. I don't know. You know, I got a couple of kids that are going to go that way for some reason. And that, you know. But yeah, same thing, done differently. Okay?
Can we do more examples of this today? Like, I don't know.
Oh, we're going to talk about this at length down the road.
Oh, okay.
I did not cover this because there were 2 questions, and I just didn't think it was necessary right now.
Alright, so it's not like on the test or anything like that?
Oh, it will be. I'll cover it before the test. It's not.
Oh.
I didn't need to cover it then. Yo.
I have another question on 18. I'm confused, I think, because I thought you always wanted to get it to equal 0.
You do.
So then you just put it to, like, you move it over?
Yeah.
And put it in, like, equal.
I'd add 27 to minus 18x and put it in standard form and then go from there.
So you do that on all of them?
Always. First thing needs to be in standard form.
So then on number 13, like,
Now, so, yeah, I'm the teacher.
wouldn't you think to equal 0?
I guess. Once we're done with this chapter, no. Yeah, when we're done with this unit, not necessarily. Just depends on how you want to solve it.
So if
Um,
it is like that, you can
yeah,
start without.
yeah. Because this is technically not like any of those others because there's not that B term. That's why I would have just straight up solved it. Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that goes back to, by the time we're done with this, I will expect you to look at a problem and know exactly how you want to solve it. Because again, it's just like me going to Hoagie's, right? There's a lot of different ways to get there, okay? But what I want to do is I want you to be able to look at a problem and say to yourself, self, I'm going to solve that problem this way. Because that's half the battle. If you know how to solve it, the rest is just, you know, making your pencil make some marks. Okay? So yeah, we'll talk more about that. Okay? Last question. Peterson.
Number 11.
Number 11. Alrighty, so 11 says 11q squared minus 44 equals 0. What am I going to do?
Take out an 11.
Take out an 11, and that's going to give me, right?
Yeah.
Well, can 11 be 0?
No.
No, but so that gives me q squared minus 40. Well, what is 4 really?
2 squared.
2 squared. Now I've got, what's my q going to be? Plus 2 and minus 2, right? Except they should be what?
switched.
Switch, right? Minus 2 plus 2. Now, how did David get that fast? Well, but he knew that this was what? Dixon?
The square. Oh, what's it called? Difference of squares.
Difference of squares, right? I know that that's going to be q plus 2 and q minus 2. That gives me a negative 2. That gives me a positive 2. Once you can see that, it makes these problems way easy. Does that make sense? I believe I said that was the last question, but I guess.
Seriously, no.
Okay.
Okay, so on 19. Wait, are you saying okay? Like I can ask you?
19's got to be an X. I don't know. It's got to be a typo.
So it was a typo.
Yeah, there's no other way. You can't do it 2 variables.
Right. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
And the only reason on 21 you can do that is you can factor that y out.
Yeah, I was so confused,
Yeah.
so I just skipped it.
Just factor the y out front.
Okay. So just do it like it's.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And on 20, I'm sorry, this is another question. On 20, so would it be 0 and then plus negative 3i?
I helped someone with that.
Not on 20.
Anybody? Did anybody I help with 19 in here? Wasn't this class?
I mean, isn't that kind of like the same thing as number 13?
Could be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Could be. Well, but you're going to take an x squared out.
And then you can just square
Yeah. Is that what it is? Is 3i? Positive 3i and negative 3i. But you got to have 2 zeros as well, right? Since x to the 4th.
Yeah.
Do I have to have 4 zeros?
4 zeros?
Yeah.
Why?
Why do you not have to? Why do you have to have 4 zeros?
Because its exponent is 4.
Its exponent is 4. That's how many zeros you have to have.
Wait, why is it squared when you have 2 zeros? It's just 1 zero.
Okay, but in reality, look, if you go. Oh, yeah, so right here, we talked about it right here. That's a cubed, right?
Yeah.
Well, if that's a cubed, I'm going to have 3 zeros. I know we talked about this. So if it's a 4th, I'm going to have 4 zeros.
So like I solved it and I don't see where there could be 2 zeros.
And on that number 13, it was squared, but it's just too high. Positive or negative, or is that
Yeah, but that's 2. Positive and a negative. If I have a positive 2 and a negative 2, that's 2 answers. Not it's not 4 number zeros. It's 4. When I say the word zeros, I'm talking about what? Who remembers what I said a 0 was?
where it crosses up?
It's a place where my parabola does what? Crosses the x-axis. So when I say 4 zeros, I don't mean there's 4 zeros.
You mean there's 4 places where it's crossed?
There's 4 answers, exactly.
Well, but I'm
You're taking me way too literal there. They call them zeros, not the number 0.
Well, so would the plus negative 3i be 2?
Yeah.
And then where's the 4th?
Well, because don't you take an x squared out?
I don't know. I took a negative 2x.
Guys, look. Yeah. So you took an x squared out, right?
Yeah, but that's...
Well, anytime I take a variable out, what does that give me? A 0. But I took actually 2 out, so that gives me 2 zeros.
You took 2 things out?
I took 2 x's out, didn't I?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
I swear I talked about that the other day.
I don't know. I probably did. Maybe it's not it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I watched your video, but I'm still so confused about how to do it.
Well, here's something else. Okay, so listen. This is something else I've been thinking about.
It's just a weird way to solve it.
When, let me think. Okay, listen. What we're going to do is we're going to actually solve these problems 3 different ways. Technically 4. If you count the ones like number, whatever that one we did. 13, right? So we're going to learn, so we factored and solved. We already did that. That's what we did last time, right? And then you have ones like number 13 that I can just manually solve, divide out and solve, right? And then you have what's called complete the square. And then you have what's called the quadratic formula, okay? So there's 4 ways to do the same thing. There's 4 ways to get to hoagies. Okay? 99% of the battle is knowing which one of those 4 ways to use.
Depending on how the problem's.
Exactly. Because once I can see that, the rest of that's just going to be rote memory, meaning you're going to do it enough that you know, and as long as you don't make a mathematical mistake, you should get the correct answer. Does that make sense? So we'd already learned how to didn't we factor multiple days in the last chapter, right? So we already knew how to factor. So the first section, all we did is took what we already knew, set it equal to 0, and solve those little problems, right? Okay, I thought that was going to be way easier for you than it obviously was. Okay, well today we're going to do the quadratic formula, which is the next level up. It makes this stuff seem like, I don't know, 3rd grade stuff.
What if you don't get
Oh,
third grade stuff?
Well, that's my concern. So what we'll do is, as I teach you the quadratic formula, we'll look at that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Real quick, so you know how you were saying like the plus negative thing?
yes.
I'm confused if that's only when it's a negative number. that
Now
you
what?
square root.
Well, yeah, because we learned that a while back. No, the negative number inside the square root gives me my what answer? Gives me my I. I said, when you're solving an equation, if you square root to get rid of that x squared, you're always going to get what out? Plus and minus. That's just the way it is. It's not.
2 plus and minuses?
No.
So like, it's just 1 plus minus?
Yes.
And that's
Yeah, you
the
get
root?
plus minus. You get the plus version and the minus version, which gives you your 2 answers.
So you could write out plus 3, comma, minus 3, or you could just write them together.
Yes.
Okay, so how on 19, what's the 3rd number? Because like when you square root something, is it 2 numbers?
No. Yeah. You just said that.
Yeah.
So you're just writing it differently.
I thought that's only when it's like it is.
No, it doesn't matter when it is.
Just when you have
Look.
a square.
Let's say I had this. Let's say I had 4x squared plus, I don't know, or I mean, just 4x squared equals 16. Okay? I would just divide by 4. Divide by 4, right? And you're going to get x squared equals 4, correct?
But you can get the
I'm going to square root and I'm going to square root. You could have, right? I'm going to square root and I'm going to square root, right?
X equal 2, comma 2.
X equals
2, comma 2.
Negative.
plus or minus 2.
What? I thought you
So
said
could you
that.
write the top thing too?
Because if you get the same number, it's
Positive 2, positive 2. What if
Yeah.
it's like 4, negative 2, negative 2?
Yeah.
Even if
Why
it's
couldn't you just like minus the 4 from the other side of the equation and then turn that into negative 2 squared? And then you can do like the.
Whoa, what?
So like, see how
Okay,
you-
now watch. Now watch. Okay, you could.
Yeah.
You could. More than one way to get to hoagies, right? So, Charlie, let me show you something. You watching?
Yes.
Slide the paper up.
Can that be 0?
no.
No.
So that's just out.
Difference of squares, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes.
And you get the same answer. That way it's just faster.
Finally, somebody figures it out. No, good job.
I didn't even do that though.
He does the other way to smash.
Look,
Make it faster.
look.
I just took out the DCF.
That's what I did right there.
More of
Oh
both
my
places.
gosh. Okay. That makes sense. Sorry, I thought you were multiplying. I was very confused.
Okay, listen, people. Every one of these could be done just like that. Now, I don't know about you, but that is way faster than that.
I didn't know you could do it that way.
Thus, why I was so excited somebody finally figured it out. Half the battle is knowing what? How to do it. Knowing which way is going to be the easiest. This way, way easier than that way for me.
I feel so dumb. Okay, yeah. I get it though. I get it now.
Yes.
It doesn't matter which way you're at.
I don't care. I would never. This is what I would do. Why?
It's faster.
It's faster. I'm a teenage boy in the head. Am I ever going to do anything more than I absolutely have to? No. Are you guys? No. It's why when your mom tells you to clean your room, you shove all the shit under your bed. You know I'm right. Yes.
I know you have to pull out signs when you like a negative square root or something.
Yes.
But on 13, I did it the long way, so I didn't have to pull out an I. So in my answer, it was negative.
Then you did it wrong.
So.
Because you should have got a plus in the middle, not a minus in the middle. And I didn't. So when you did that, you can't do it that way. That's why. When you pulled that negative out, you didn't pull that middle one out. Should have been a plus sign. And you don't know how to do that. It doesn't work that way, I promise. So what you would have ended up with is you would have ended up with x squared plus 9. Right? Or you ended up with a minus 9. Should have been a plus 9, I think. Which then changes the problem because now we don't have sum of squares. Dixon.
So on 14, it's x equals 4x squared minus 15x. And that's when you would put those, so you get 4x squared minus 15x minus x equals 0. And then do you combine your negative 15x and negative x? And then with what you have, you pull out your greatest common factor. And then do what we've learned.
Just like that.
Goody. Okay.
All righty. We're moving on. Ooh, that was bad. All righty. So, still 11-4. Still fourth period.
Like math is so much.
You what?
I feel like math is so much easier to like understand the first time versus the because of what?
Because of what?
Because it was review. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer there. All righty. So, our objective for today is going to be able to properly use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. Now, you need to understand something. There's two things where they're going to use the term quadratic. They use the term quadratic formula, and they use the term quadratic equation. Who knows what a quadratic equation is? Something with 4?
4 terms.
No, that would be a polynomial, right?
Exponent.
An exponent to the 4th?
Yes.
Like a to the 4th plus b to the 4th?
No. That would be a quartic equation.
I don't know that.
Yo.
Is it one with 4 answers?
Nope.
One where you square root.
Well, it's anything with a squared in it. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is a quadratic equation. Quad means 2. We're not riding four-wheelers. Quad means 2 in math. I
Why is there 4?
don't make up the rules.
4 quadrants.
Okay? I know. That's why I'm explaining this right now. Quadratic means my highest degree is a 2. If my highest degree is a 4, that's called a quartic system. If my highest degree is a 3, that is called a cubic system. If my highest degree was a 5, that would be called a...
Oh, I know.
No.
Cinco equation, no.
What happens if you had 5 twins?
Quintuplets.
Or what?
Quintuplets.
Quintuplets, right? So it's called quintic. Okay? Now, I don't know, but listen. This should look familiar. Pretty much every equation we've worked with is a quadratic equation. Right? I mean, hasn't almost every equation been a squared? Okay, that's called a quadratic equation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a quadratic equation and we're going to solve it by using the quadratic formula. Memorize it.
Okay. Why is it B?
Something you will use in every math class you take from now on.
Is that a B?
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Where are all the a's, the b's, and the c's coming from?
The quadratic equation is where it's coming from.
Exactly, which is why you use the quadratic formula. What are these? At least these two are my what? Coefficients. I'm simply going to take those numbers out and I'm going to substitute them into that equation. Then I'm going to simplify that equation. It's going to give me my answer. Yes.
So you still have the, what's the thing where it's
The radical.
a different type of like
Index.
index?
No, it'll always be square root. Always.
So there's not gonna be any.
Which goes back to why I needed that plus or minus. See that plus or minus right there?
So
That's why you need that plus or minus. Peterson.
What do we do with the x?
What x?
The x in the quadratic equation.
This x? That's actually what you're going to find. This equation, if you wrote the whole thing out, it is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Now, this is the easiest thing we're going to discuss the rest of this unit, so I'd pay attention.
This is the easy one?
Yeah, it's easy.
I was
No,
checking out-
like really, this is easy.
I was checking out 4.4. It looked very confusing.
If you have a calculator, it's easy too.
Well, yeah, it's like graphing. It's like
Can I watch?
Down at HX minus
Somebody give me a number. Okay, so you got 5x squared. You really want to go with minus 27? Minus 27. No, we're gonna teach you guys something one way or another. Somebody give me another number.
Can you slide it up? Yes, thank you.
15. Okay, there we go. Now listen. You guys will hate this, but you chose the numbers, not me. Alrighty, now. You notice how they're all looking at you. I didn't know if you knew that or not. Okay, now look. This is what I do. For my equation, I need 3 numbers. I need my A, I need my B, and I need my C, right?
Yeah.
So what's my A? What's my B? And what is my C? Now look. All you have to do is substitute those values into that equation.
Okay.
How do you know?
Kate, Smedley, let me, doesn't matter!
How?
Okay, listen. I could take this equation and I can solve it for x.
Somebody smarter, maybe.
And it's going to take me 2 pages. And when I get to the bottom, you're going to look at me like I'm speaking in Dutch.
What about Arabic?
Because it's going to make no sense to you. Okay? So ultimately, it doesn't matter. Doesn't.
Wait, which one's A, which one's B, and which one's C doesn't matter?
No.
A and B can
No,
be
it matters.
either or, right?
Nope.
Yeah, they're in the order.
Oh my gosh.
you gotta put in standard form first, right?
What did we talk about the other day, Flinders, that you wanted to do very first?
Put it.
Standard form. Because standard form dictates where my A, my B, and my C are at, right? Which is why up here I wrote it in standard form and then underlined my A, my B, and my C.
Yep.
Do we all see that?
Yeah.
Inglesby, glad you could join us.
This is probably the worst class to join right now. This is so confusing.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Whoa, whoa,
Greatest
whoa,
class.
whoa. Did you just say mine was the worst class to join? No, that were the exact words that came out of your mouth.
I heard that too.
Yeah, I heard
I
it.
meant like
There's
this
one
is just
imposter
confusing.
among
The topic.
Oh, you mean the topic is the worst.
Not the people, the topic.
Now it's just trying to.
He's trying to cover it up now.
Now look. Shh. Now watch. All you gotta do is substitute them in. So what's this gonna say?
Negative 20. Wait, which if there already a negative 7, would you just
Positive
switch?
27. Less or minus.
Well, because this is the opposite of B. If my B was already negative, it's gonna go back to being positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Plus or minus square root.
Negative 27 squared. Minus 4.
Minus
Times
4
five.
Times
to
5
the second.
times 15.
Which is 5.
Minus
And then
And then over 2 times 5.
over. And then do 10. 2. Yeah. Over.
Oh, well, we picked negative 27,
Write it up. Thank you. Oh, the section.
What is this?
but some minus 300. I don't
You
know
just
what 27 or
combine.
27 is.
It's. What's it called? Order of operations.
300, is that what you're saying?
I don't know. What is this?
Something minus 300. I don't know what 27 is.
It's 729 minus.
300.
300.
429.
429. Okay. Now, this is where you're going to separate those that can from those that only think they can. Okay? Now, when I get to here, okay, this represents 2 answers. Okay? Now, before I can go to my final answer, and I would probably leave it like this because I'm lazy, what do I want to try and do with this 429?
Square root is like that.
Whoop it.
Yeah, whoop it, right? I want to pull stuff out. Can I factor 429?
Yes. No. I don't.
I don't know. I'm asking. I didn't choose 27.
Negative 27.
No, you can't.
3 and 1 for you.
I think you can.
Just you probably can, but it's
3.
no, it's
3 and what?
It's
143.
Yeah, 143.
So-
You can't go farther than that.
Yeah, it doesn't do me any good, right?
Nope.
So, what you end up with is this. I would leave it like this.
That's the answer.
Okay? But what is that really?
That's the point where it falls.
Okay? It's actually 2 points, right? Where it's going to cross the x-axis, right? But what are they?
Zeros.
They are my zeros, you're right. Does anybody know what they really are, though? Well, it's 27 plus the square root of 429 over 10. And it's 27 minus the square root of 429 over 10. They're my 2 answers, which is why you have the plus or minus there. Yes.
So like if the 27 plus minus the square root of 429 wasn't in simplest form, would you simplify it?
So what we tried to do to whoop it, and we'll get there. I just got to pick one that works. I just let you guys throw some numbers out, and we all learn that we suck at that.
7.
Okay?
That was 107.
That's not a good number.
Yeah, that was a bad number. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to pick one out, and hopefully this one works better. So let's say I've got 2x squared plus 6x minus 8 equals 0. Okay? Now, we're just going to do this one the way it's written first, and then we'll talk about some things, right? So I've got A is 2, B is 6,
Would you factor that or?
C is negative 8. I said we're just going to do this the one the way it's written for now. Okay? Now, what am I going to get?
So 36.
Write it out. So 6 squared minus,
Or parentheses 2.
I do not remember this.
over.
Oh my, you made this 2.
Yeah,
2.
2.
28.
Oh, okay.
Nobody can do this math.
I think
It's 100, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, 64 plus 36.
Yeah. So it's negative 4, 1.
How was it 100?
Yeah.
It's 30.
4 times 2 becomes negative 8.
It's 36 minus negative 64.
Yeah, so how is that 100?
Because it's
Plus it.
It's
Minus
two
2.
negatives. Two minus thing make a plus.
So it's 36.
You don't remember that?
4 times 2 times negative 8 is negative 64, and then 36 minus negative 64 would be plus 64.
Oh, okay, that's
So
fine.
it's 10.
Right?
Yeah.
So we got 100 there, correct?
See,
Okay. Then what?
I squared.
Then you put 10 squared out, and then times the negative 6, which is negative 60.
Now be careful. So if I whoop this, I'm going to get negative 6 plus or minus what? 10 over 4, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to give me what?
Negative 4 and 1.
But it's going to give me negative 6
Plus 10.
plus 10 over 4 and
Negative 6 minus 10.
And then
Can you
That's 1 and negative 4. Or negative 4 and 1. That's it.
Oh, that was
well, what's negative 6 plus 10? 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. And I would go negative 4 comma 1.
Done.
not easier.
Now look. Let's say I go back to that problem. Okay, watch.
Wait, so this.
Right? Just watch. Right? If I factored a 2 out like Ash has suggested, right? Correct?
Yeah.
that way
Oh,
actually
that's
we
just
use
a lot,
this
yeah.
Hey, well, look how fast.
Okay,
So the
so
smaller the numbers are.
so listen. What did I say earlier today?
You gotta recognize
You got to recognize how to solve it. Okay, now on this assignment, you're going to practice the quadratic formula. But when it comes test time, it's going to say solve. I don't care how you solve it. Now look, if it's easier to factor the sucker, factor it. Let's say I'm terrible at factoring. You can always use a quadratic formula. It always works. So it just depends. If you can see what makes it easier, that is what you need to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why by the time we're done with this unit, I want you to be able to look at a problem and say, yeah, I'm going to go right to the quadratic formula and save myself any of that other stuff. Or, hey, those numbers, I can just factor that and save myself some time. That is literally half the battle. Okay, for this assignment, they all have to be solved using the quadratic formula. Commit it to memory. You'll use it in every math class you take. Okay? Questions? Gosh, I hate early outs.
Write it on the board.
Can we go through 13
Like-
from yesterday one more time?
No. Should we do one more of these? Let's do that. Let's go raisey handy. Solve it. What? One. Let's go for 10 hands. Two. 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. One more. 10. Stoker. What does my equation look like? I've got x equals what?
5 plus or minus the square root, and then 5 squared plus 4 times 3 times 1 over 2 times 3.
Okay, so what's wrong? It's b squared minus 4ac, right? Now, there's one other problem here. Does anybody see it? Now, right here. Okay? Does it matter?
No.
Should be negative 5. But does it matter that it's a positive 5? Why? They're always going to be a positive, so I really don't care. But you need to know it's negative right there. Okay? So, you were 5, right, Stoker?
Huh? Yeah.
Were you 5? Who was 6? David, what's next?
Then you simplify it to x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6.
13? Okay, and I would just, that'd be the answer, because you don't have to write them separate, but you can. Okay, goodbye. Oh, no. Hey, no decimals. Period. No decimals. You leave them just like that. Did I do any decimals? No decimals.